Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante. Like, share, subscribe, support the show in whatever way you can. I like bringing in, I talk about the environment a lot, and a lot of times the news is like, it's a little daunting, it's a little scary, but there's always some good news out there because there is a chance. And there's this new study that came out of Stanford. Renewable energy could power the world by 2050. This was in truthdig.com. The link is in the show notes. This is a consensus of 47 peer-reviewed research papers from 13 independent groups with a total of 91 authors that have been brought together by Stanford University in California. Special examinations of small island states, sub-Saharan Africa, and individual countries like Germany look to see what are the barriers to progress and how they could be removed, right? We talk about this a lot on this show. That's why I was a big proponent of a Green New Deal. We absolutely need one. That UN report came out 2 years ago saying that if we don't reverse climate change and get off of oil by 2030, it will be too late. So they're showing how dangerous it is in this paper, but also where the barriers are, and finding the barriers is where we can find the solutions. It seems every part of the world can now find a system that edges fossil fuels out in costs. That's a big part of it. That was always the complaint, right? Oh, it's green energy is too expensive and blah, 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 blah. Now they're saying it's becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. This is why I say vote with your dollars, because this is a thing that is true about capitalism. Capitalism is an awful, brutal, cruel system that is literally killing the planet. But if we can somehow, and I'm all for getting rid of it, but finding places where the cost and profit are there, capitalism would go to that. If there's more money in saving the planet than extracting its resources, that's where the businesses will go there. So I'm not saying, hey, let's save capitalism. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you bring the costs down, then some big corporations wake up. And when their big money wakes up, that can help. Once proper energy efficiency measures are in place, a combination of wind, solar, and water power with various forms of storage capacity can add up to 100% of energy needs in every part of the planet. Well, this is another thing I talk about. There's all these solutions out there. There's wind, solar, as they just mentioned right here. I've talked about videos where there's algae that removes CO2 from the environment at 400 times the rate of trees. There's, all this stuff. There was a soil culture that removes methane from soil. And I've done numerous videos on this. And I always say, if we just had some real money behind them, then we could get these off the ground. So when you start showing just from a dollars and cents, just to investors, like what's happening in the crypto space, there's going to be a bunch of crypto millionaires and billionaires being created right now and in the next couple of years. They're already have been created. All these people that bought Bitcoin when it was $2 or whatever, and they got 20,000 Bitcoins and now it's worth 28 grand. They're billionaires now, or worth hundreds of whatever. Like this big money is coming. So that's one of the things that can happen. And in the next couple of years, as crypto, apparently as Bitcoin is going to go up and up, people that are early adopters are going to have money and they're going to be able to invest in projects that can save the planet. And the more people that invest, the more the costs come down. With the world already approaching 1.5 degrees Celsius of heating, it says 7 million people killed by air pollution annually, and limited fossil fuel resources potentially sparking conflict. That's what we're facing. That's what the study uncovered. Stanford's researchers wanted to compare business as usual with a 100% transition to wind, water, solar energy efficiency and storage by 2050, with at least 80% by 2030. By grouping the countries of the world together into 24 regions cooperating on a grid stability and storage solution, supply could match demand by 2050 to 2052 with 100% reliance on renewables. Now, look, as I've said, that UN thing, if we don't get off of oil by 2030, it's too late. So we need to start now. We need to really move this forward quickly. So first we got to get off, but they're saying by 2050, we could match the demands. That's part of it too. There's a huge demand. We've got all these machines and everything running right now. So this study isn't like, oh, it's fixed, we did it, but it just shows that, I just mentioned all of these different studies, all these 47 peer-reviewed things showing that there is a chance for this, which is why, like, I'm not backing off of Medicare for all. I'm not backing off of a Green New Deal. I'm not. We got to have this. We have to have this. That's why we have to cut the military budget in half. It's why, and how are we going to pay for this? Well, we can pay for all these wars. We can pay for trillions of dollars in stimulus money, much of it going to Wall Street. So we could pay for a Green New Deal. The amount of energy used overall would be reduced by 57.1%. Costs would fall by a similar amount, and 28.6 million more long-term full-time jobs would be created than under business as usual. That's the other thing. Oh, how much is the Green New Deal going to cost? It's going to create millions of jobs. 28.6 million long-term full-time jobs. See? The whole world, the first couple months of COVID was working together. Now, I mean, America's all selfish and dumb, but like the whole world was working together. We could all do this. The whole world could work behind this, get this done. The appearance of so many papers mirrors the consensus that climate scientists have managed to achieve in warning the world's political leaders that time is running out for them to act and keep the temperature below dangerous levels. Time is running out. But the thing I like about this study is it's showing like time's running out, but you have the ability here. And maybe like seeing what happened to all these people dying from COVID, the economy being shut down. I mean, all of this stuff, we need to address this because as I said, climate scientists have said, part of the things that are going to get worse with climate collapse is pandemics. They're going to keep happening. So maybe now is the time to do this. The Stanford file shows them that all they need is the political will for them to be able to achieve climate stability. That's all we need is the political will. Just like we talk about with force the vote. We just need the political, well, it's too performative. So we're supposed to keep waiting. When's the time for force the vote? When's the time for a Green New Deal? Later, when it gets worse? When more people have died because they don't have health insurance in the pandemic, when more people have died because of climate change, when more countries are destabilized because of climate change? When? You just need the political will. So I want to talk to Ron Placone, who's joining us today. And we just, Ron, looking at all that information from the Stanford experiment. And one of the things they talk about at the end was, we could be completely 100% using renewable energy by 2050. But the clock is running out, obviously, right. And governments just need the political will. So as we've been talking about the last 3-4 weeks about force the vote, we just need the political will. Oh, it's too performative. There's no step 2, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you just need the willpower to take a bold action. So how do we do that with getting off of fossil fuels and basically saving the human race from being extinct from climate collapse?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, whenever you hear political will, it's funny, like as you were going through that story, it's like when you're hearing all the things we have the potential to do and everything science has done, you're uplifted and you're like, yeah, we can figure this out. And then they're like, we just need the political will. And you're like, shit. But I think there's first of all, there's a number of factors going on. I think that, the short answer to your question too is like organizing locally, pressuring politicians, pressuring congressional members, getting better people in office. But then the other thing, and I don't mean to sound kind of like down on the United States, but these days it's really hard not to be. This is a worldwide problem, and I have more confidence in other countries leading than the United States. I really, when you see what they're doing in a lot of other countries, even a lot of the stuff that China's doing, I mean, China is still a big polluter like we are, but they are also investing in a lot of green things. I feel like the United States is kind of going to be kind of pulled along. And I hope that we, become better participants. But in a lot of ways, when it really comes to the fight on climate change, at this point in time, I'm really hoping other countries take the lead, because I have no confidence at all in us politically.
I find that shocking, Ron. I mean, I don't know why you can't be confident about America leading the fight on climate change when Kamala and Joe Biden looked into the camera during the debates and said, we're not going to ban fracking. I don't know why.
We're not going to ban fracking. Well, in 2050 is the year he wants to start doing something.
Oh, great.
2050, he's like, you got to get a more fuel efficient car now.
I love it. Let's raise gas mileage standards so that by 2050, they're a little more. That's a great plan. I love it. I love pragmatic centrism. I love kicking the can down the road, because it just ensures that the human race is going to go extinct. It's my favorite solution for things. It's like I remember when I played sports, I played high school football, and we'd be in the huddle and we'd be like trailing in a game, and the quarterback and the coach would be like, well, let's not go for broke. Let's just go easy. And if we lose today, we'll try to get them next year. And it was so exciting to be on a team that just was so happy with just losing and not fighting for anything. That's why I love team sports, is like, let's all work together at not really attaining a goal and just moving the ball a couple of yards. And then
now's not our time.
It's not our time.
Yeah, it's like it's second down. You're like, let's just punt it. Let's just, why? I mean, it might not work. We might not score. And now it's just not our time. Let's wait for another game. Yeah, I mean,
how we always got fired up before games is now's not our time.
Yeah.
It's not our time. We get so fired up, man. You just can't wait to run on the field and play the most aggressive, pragmatic, centrist kind of football ever. I mean, it was exciting, man.
All right, guys, on the count of 3, we're going to do our main cheer. 1, 2, 3. Be polite on YouTube and break. And that's
don't get too angry about things that are important.
Stop yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, and of course, like, localized Green New Deals are all great things. I'm very encouraging of those things. I'm very encouraging of action on the state level. But this is one of those things where you need some bold legislation from the powerful. And something needs to be done about the people causing the most pollution in our planet, which are the Amazons of the world and the Walmarts of the world. So, I'm counting on the bolder legislation to start from other countries, and it'll get to the point where the United States just kind of has to follow suit. That's me being honest. Should we try for better than that? Abso-frickin-lutely. But, as far as like where my personal optimism is, it's in countries that are not the United States. And, and the other thing too is I think that technology is going to have a role to play as well. So, right. I think it's going to be a combination of new energy and green energy, and also, technology too, taking carbon out of the air and stuff like that. So, when you see all that, you're definitely encouraged. And when you see, the technological aspect of it, it's kind of like, okay, so if the United States keeps fucking up electorally, we still have ways to fight back.
Right. Yeah. And that's what it's going to take. So, and again, like you say, like on a federal level, I don't have a lot of confidence in the United States government, but it's one of the things I talk about. And I know you talk about on your show, why local politics is so big, because, in the same way that we're probably going to get Medicare for all one state at a time, we're going to start having, we already have cities that have started to do this in America, but we're going to start having states, if we can, that are going to be like, we're implementing a green new, not the fake one that Garcetti tried to, pats himself on the back for in LA, but a real getting off of this state, this city, this school district, this college campus, whatever. We're getting off of fossil fuels. Like the divest movement is big. And that's why it takes more independent individual actions collectively working together, like the divest movement. When everybody was divesting because of the Dakota Access Pipeline. That was huge. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars got pulled out of the big banks and put into credit unions and stuff like that, myself included. And so that's part of it. I think it's going to take all these things politically. It's going to take, like you say, technologically, and again, as I talk about, like, these new millionaires and billionaires are going to be created out of cryptocurrency. Well, you and I are paid in cryptocurrency from Rockfin. And look, a year ago, that was trading at about 17 cents, and now it's like $1.90. And so there's going to be a lot of people like us, because I just know that if somehow I become some multimillionaire because of crypto, well, I'm going to invest it in this green technology. I'm absolutely going to do that because that's the future. And I don't want to see, my nieces and nephews have to murder each other for drinkable water.
Yeah. And to not come off as like completely doom and gloom. I mean, there are some very powerful entities in this country that are, I mean, there's even a couple Wall Street firms. I'm not saying that I, approve of any of these firms whatsoever. Of course I don't, but they are, not wanting to invest in fossil fuels anymore. Like they're saying, we're not going to invest, we're not going to have any new fossil fuel investments. That's the past. We're looking towards the future. So even some of the most immoral entities and disgusting entities on the face of the planet are recognizing that they still want to stay on this planet and are getting away from fossil fuel investments. That's not to say that it's been eliminated entirely. Of course it hasn't. But, there is a tide that's starting to shift.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, when I say vote with your dollars on this show, look, they're just thinking about money and dollars and cents. And they might maybe be wising up and not being so insane, going, well, if the planet is on fire, we can't keep selling people bullshit. So maybe we should,
Yeah, we can't make money if the planet goes, if we go extinct, we can't make money.
Yeah. So it might be, and again, one person doing one thing, okay, whatever. But if we all, that's why boycotts and general strikes and just voting with your dollars, like where you spend your money is a big deal. And so it's, that's why some of these Wall Street companies are divesting and not going with fossil fuels, because they just it's not a sustainable long-term investment, because people are just going to be off of it. When you hear like countries like India, we're not going to have gas cars by the year, it's like 2035. Countries are doing this. General Motors just announced we're going to go all electric by 2030 or something like that. So it's like financially, they're like, there's no money in this fossil fuel thing, which is great. And not that the electric car is the sole solution, because you got to extract a lot of minerals for the batteries and stuff like that. But it to the points that we're making, it is showing on a financial level, this is what most people want. And this is why voting with your dollars makes such a difference, and this can bring about the political will. Just yelling at politicians isn't going to do it. But like in this country, it's going to need a third party. It's going to need the People's Party. But there's so many ways to attack this, I think, is what we're saying.
Oh, absolutely. And we're in it as one world. And that's kind of encouraging too. I'm not saying that any country has it all figured out electorally. Everywhere in the world has their own problems, but I think there's there are some places further ahead than others. Like when you mention what they're doing in India and stuff like that, that needs to continue to increase, because then it strips the financial incentive away from some of the most brutal players in the game of environmental destruction. So
right. Yeah, India is a country of 1.2 billion people, and it's one of these emerging markets where you've got, a lot of people are, there's some of them are coming out of poverty and they're having money to spend on stuff, and they're going to want to buy a car now. And that whole country will not, 1.2 billion people will not be able to buy a gas car. So that's a big market that is not going to be buying gas cars, that is not going to be consuming fossil fuels for cars. I mean, that's huge. I mean, so trucks, buses, all that stuff eventually will not be running on fossil fuels in this massive country of India. So it's a big thing. Well, Ron, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us where people can follow you online and watch your show.
Well, you can check me out on youtube.com/Ron Placone. You can follow me on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, at Ron Placone on all of those. And ronplacone.com is my website where someday over the rainbow, there will be tour dates again. I don't know when, but someday they will be there. But in the meantime, please do subscribe to my YouTube, youtube.com/Ron Placone. You can find my show, Get Your News On with Ron, wherever you get your podcasts too.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at grahamelwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.